Back again, May 2015, Paper 2, Time Zone 2, Question 5. Not Time Zone 2, Time Zone 1. Whoops. 5. Let g of x equal some ugly thing, 95 e to the negative 0.02x plus 40, for values of x between 20 and 200. On the following grid, sketch the graph of g. Let's go ahead and enter that in on our calculator and see what we get. So g of x equaled 95. You don't need the multiplication symbol in here, but sometimes you need them, so I'm just going to put it in there anyway. E to the power of negative 0.02x. Close the bracket, and it didn't do negative 0.02, it did negative 0.2, not what I wanted. Negative 0.02x. Always check your calculator input, there's a good tip. So 95 e to the negative 0.02x plus 40. Haven't finished, make sure we finish it off there. Plus 40. Execute that. Now, I could just draw it. Problem there, isn't there? What's our problem? They've given us a good idea on what grid we want to sketch this on. Let's do the same thing, hey? Let's find our viewing window. Set our minimum for x to 0, x maximum to 20. They've got y values here on scale. Let's just go up by 20s. That's what they go up. So you'll just see little dashes along the bottom going by 20. That's fine. We now want to have our y minimum of 0 and our y maximum, they've suggested 160. So let's go with that. And we'll put our scale little ticks of 20 along the scale there too. Now when I exit and draw it, I should have something pretty nice to draw. We need to be careful though, don't we? This is defined between 20 and 200. This graph is from 0 to 220. So let's just calculate a few values. I want to calculate the y value when x equals 20. So I've got a good idea where to start my graph, and it's at about 103.68. Okay, well it's not particularly helpful, but let's put it in there. So when I'm at 20, I'm just a bit over 100 mark there. Now, if I want it to be really good and I was doing this in the exam, I might even label that as 20, 103 or 104, given that we're going to 3 significant figures. But 103.68 you saw before was the actual value, but it's worthwhile just making it clear to them that you know what you're doing. Okay, we've got our general shape there. Let's just maybe find one value at 100 and then another one at 200, and we should have some points to go in. So, draw G-solve again. Calculate the y value, this time when x is 100. Oh, there you go, 52.9. So 100 over here, we need 52.9. Again, doesn't hurt to let them know what you put in. 152.9 is approximately that point. And the other end point's obviously a good one to have there. So finally we exit. No, we don't exit, we just go G-solve again. We want to calculate a y value this time when x is 200. That's our maximum value in this domain. And 200 negative, oh no, not negative, it's just 41.7. So over here at 200, it's just above the 40 mark there. 200, comma, 41.7, I believe is what I just said. Double check that. And yep, there it was. Now joining this up with a straight line. Well, not a straight line, with a smooth curve. Not a great effort on pen and paper. I think it'll be a bit easier drawing on this tablet. Not the best, but you get the idea. If you want to have another go, remember to do your sketches in pencil, at least initially. So there we go. That looks pretty similar to what we had on the graph there. Nice smooth curve, nice smooth curve. We're done. Calculate. Robin and Pat are planning a wedding banquet. The cost per guest in dollars is modelled by that function amazingly, where n is the number of guests. Calculate the total cost for 45 guests. So We're familiar with this process now. We've just done it a few times. Shift G solve. Calculate the Y value when X is 45. Execute that, and we've got a cost of 78.62411. So we go ahead and we write that down over here. Now, does that seem a little bit cheap for a wedding to you? Cost equaling 70, what was it again? Let's get that back. 78.62411. Why am I using all those decimal places? You'll remember 78.6241. Recommendation from the IB is to write answers and use answers down to at least 6 decimal places and then round off at the end. So I encourage you to get in the practice of doing that before the actual exam time. This is, if you check closely, the cost per guest. Obviously, you're not going to throw a wedding for 45 guests and have a cost of $78, although meagering are pretty nice. So what's the cost for 45? So that's the cost per person. So I've got to write that down there. Per person. Pretty sure there's an R in person. 1S. Oh, that's pretty ugly. Rub that out and try again. Per person. So what would my total cost be? $45 multiplied by 78.6241. And we can get our total cost in dollars that way. So menu 178.6241. Multiply that by 45. Get to my execute button eventually. 3538.08. Now again, these are approximate values, so 3538.08, but we only go to 3 significant figures, so this is going to be $3,540. There we have our answer.